And the Prime Minister of Israel, at least once, I believe on other occasions, described the Palestinians in Gaza as Amalek. That's calling for genocide.
First of all, that's simply not true.
I'm saying, what is the Prime Minister talking about? Why would he refer to the Palestinians as Amalek? What is Amalek?
You would have to ask him. I don't know. I know what Amalek is. I do understand 1 Samuel 16. I get all
15.
that.
1 Samuel 15.
But I do understand.
And it's widely known, the descendants of Abram in this country. And so it's fine. I'm not trying to invalidate anyone's right. I'm just wanting you to affirm that right, but it makes you uncomfortable and you won't. And I don't know why.
Because I've never honestly sat down and asked myself, Eisenhower, for God's sake.
If you're an American.
No, listen to me, Tucker, for God's sake.
I'm not attacking Trump. I like Trump.
I know, but you're making it sound like that he is being pulled into something that he really doesn't want to do, or pulled into something because he's persuaded.
I'm neither saying that nor implying.
I was in the meeting last week. I was in the meetings last summer.
Tell me how I'm missing something.
Because if Israel wanted to commit genocide, they could have done it in 2.5 hours.
We can debate what's happened in Gaza. I'm asking you why the leader of this country.
Ask him.
Well, what do you think?
I don't know.
Does that bother you at all?
People, I don't know what he meant. I don't know if it was an illustrative metaphor. I think what he was saying was that we're not going to let anything keep us from getting our hostages back, their sons and their daughters, who are being brutalized, raped, tortured, starved, beaten.
Come on, Mr. Mess.
No, I think
there are many examples of justice in the Bible.
Israel gets accused of genocide regularly.
I'm not accusing Israel of anything. I'm saying that the Prime Minister of Israel described the Palestinians
as Amalek. Do you think he attempted to do genocide?
Tucker Carlson turns the conversation directly toward U.S. foreign policy and the role of Benjamin Netanyahu. Tucker points out that Netanyahu has addressed the U.S. Congress multiple times and frequently meets with American presidents. His question to Mike Huckabee is simple but powerful. Why does the United States continue sending billions of dollars in military aid while having so little public debate about it? It's a moment where the interview shifts from defending Israel to questioning how American foreign policy decisions are actually made. And this might be the most uncomfortable moment of the entire interview. Tucker Carlson presses Mike Huckabee about the deaths of journalists during the war and controversial statements made by Benjamin Netanyahu. Instead of answering directly, Huckabee appears to freeze up, repeatedly saying he doesn't know or telling Tucker to ask Netanyahu himself. It's a moment that perfectly shows how quickly the conversation changes when the questions become impossible to avoid. This is one of the most intense moments of the entire conversation. Here, Tucker Carlson brings up something extremely controversial that had been widely discussed during the war in the Gaza Strip. Tucker points out that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, had at one point referred to the enemy as Amalek, a term from the Hebrew Bible that historically represents a people described as the enemies of Israel. In biblical narratives, the command associated with Amalek is often interpreted as a call for total destruction. Carlson presses Mike Huckabee on what that language means in a modern political and military context. His question is essentially this: when a leader uses a term that carries such heavy historical and religious meaning, how should the world interpret it during an active war? Instead of directly addressing the implications, Huckabee responds cautiously and says he would have to ask Netanyahu what he meant by the statement. Tucker doesn't let the point go easily. He emphasizes that language used by national leaders can shape how conflicts are understood both domestically and internationally. The exchange highlights a broader issue that runs throughout the interview: how religious history, political rhetoric, and modern warfare intersect in one of the most complex conflicts in the world. And in that moment, the discussion shifts from a normal policy debate to a much deeper conversation about the power of words during wartime. Tucker Carlson dismantles several of the arguments commonly used to defend the war in the Gaza Strip. Instead of letting the discussion stay vague, he brings up specific facts and asks direct questions. The result is a tense exchange where the usual talking points suddenly start to fall apart.
First of all, that's simply not true.
I'm saying, what is the Prime Minister talking about? Why would he refer to the Palestinians as Amalek? What is Amalek?
You would have to ask him. I don't know. I know what Amalek is. I do understand 1 Samuel 16. I get all
15.
that.
1 Samuel 15.
But I do understand.
And it's widely known. So if you say our enemy is Amalek and we are proceeding on the basis of God's commands to us, you are calling for genocide. Tell me how I'm missing something.
Because if Israel wanted to commit genocide, they could have done it in 2.5 hours.
We can debate what's happened in Gaza. I'm asking you why the leader of this country.
Ask him.
Well, what do you think?
I don't know.
Does that bother you at all?
People, I don't know what he meant. I don't know if it was an illustrative metaphor. I think what he was saying was that we're not going to let anything keep us from getting our hostages back, their sons and their daughters who are being brutalized, raped, tortured, starved, beaten.
Come on, Mr. Mess.
No, I think
there are many examples of justice in the Bible. But there are
Israel
very
gets
few.
accused of genocide regularly.
I'm not accusing Israel of anything. I'm saying that the prime minister of Israel described the Palestinians
Do you think he
as Amalek.
attempted to do genocide?
I'm asking why, of all the references in the Bible, and there are many to justice, then I have to ask you, what is that? And is that kind of thinking consistent with Western values and with Christianity? Do we as Christians believe it's okay to kill people's children?
No, we don't. And neither do the Israelis, because they didn't go after their children. If they'd have wanted to kill all their children, Tucker, they've got the military capacity. They could have done it in less than a day.
I've heard you say that.
I know.
I mean, I guess
so
they could
have
nuke
done
them.
it.
Okay, but
why didn't they?
Tucker brings up reports of violence around food distribution sites in the Gaza Strip and asks a very direct question. Is it ever acceptable to use live ammunition against unarmed civilians who are simply trying to get food? Instead of addressing the question clearly, Huckabee first shifts the blame to Hamas, arguing that the group controls aid distribution. Then he goes even further, claiming there's no reliable evidence that people were shot at these sites and criticizing media coverage of the war. But Tucker doesn't let that answer stand. He pushes back and says that if civilians, especially families and children, are being harmed while trying to access food, that raises serious moral and humanitarian questions that can't simply be dismissed. At this point, Tucker changes the angle of the discussion and appeals directly to Huckabee's own values. He asks a powerful question. As Christians who believe every human life has value, how should people respond when innocent children are caught in the middle of a war? Huckabee agrees that every human soul has equal value, but the exchange highlights the tension between that principle and the reality of civilian suffering during armed conflicts.
I'm asking why, of all the references in the Bible, and there are many to justice, and there are many to reconciliation, that is a reference to genocide, as you know, killing every man, woman, child, and infant, I'm quoting, and their animals, wiping them from the earth. And when they don't do that, they're punished. When you say that at the outset of a war, and then you wind up with massive civilian casualties, maybe not as big as they were in Iraq, then I have to ask you, what is that? And is that kind of thinking consistent with Western values and with Christianity? Do we as Christians believe it's okay to kill people's children?
No, we don't. And neither do the Israelis, because they didn't go after their children. If they'd have wanted to kill all their children, Tucker, they've got the military capacity. They could have done it in less than a day.
I've heard you say that.
I know.
I mean, I guess
so
they could
have
nuke them. Okay, but
why didn't they? Why didn't they?
I think there are a lot of decent people in Israel who don't want that. But I'm talking.
Do you think that the prime minister wanted to wipe out every single person in Gaza? Do you
I'm
really
asking
think that?
you what you think is the U.S. representative of our government.
I don't think that that's what he wanted to do.
Did you ask him? Why are you referring?
I never had to ask him that.
Why?
Because I never saw any evidence that Israel tried to wipe out every single person. I just gave you examples that they tried to save civilian lives.
But I'm not,
and they didn't.
By the way, I'm not, as I've said, and I mean this, I think most soldiers in most armies, including the Israel Defense Force, don't want to kill civilians. I just don't believe that. I think there are some lunatics.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
You platformed a guy, you had him on your show, Tony Aguilar.
Don't platform anyone.
Well, you interviewed.
Not a liberal,
Tony
so I don't
Aguilar.
platform people.
Okay, you interviewed Tony Aguilar, who claimed that IDF soldiers killed a little boy in his presence. That didn't happen.
Okay.
It did not happen.
I don't know.
Let me give you the story.
I don't know if you know whether it happened or not.
Well, I can tell you why I know it didn't happen.
Okay.
Because we found that little boy less than a week later.
All right.
I was involved, heavily involved, in helping to extricate him from Gaza. 4 different countries were involved in getting he and his mother to safety. Get them out of there. Tony Aguilar is a liar.
Okay.
Tony Aguilar claimed that he saw an IDF soldier shoot the little boy. He was fired from the GHF for cause, and he begged for his job back, and they wouldn't give it back because they didn't want him. And he told them that if they didn't give his job back, that he would burn them down.
Okay.
So he goes out. No, let me finish this because it's important for you to understand.
Right.
This is where the broader debate surrounding the war comes into focus. Casualty figures and humanitarian conditions in the conflict have been widely discussed by governments, international organizations, and independent researchers around the world. Reports from groups such as the Committee to Protect Journalists have also drawn attention to the number of journalists killed while covering the conflict, raising further concerns about the dangers faced by media workers reporting from war zones. The conversation then turns to another major issue: the role of the United States. Tucker asks why American taxpayers continue to fund large amounts of military aid while the war remains one of the most controversial international conflicts today. By the end of the exchange, it's clear that this isn't just a debate about one incident or one policy decision. It's part of a much bigger discussion about war, accountability, humanitarian impact, and the role of global powers in conflicts overseas. So now I want to ask you watching this video, what do you think about this exchange between Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee? Do you think the questions Tucker raised are fair, or do you see the situation differently? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see more breakdowns like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it so more people can join the conversation.